welcome to another episode of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live after Monday Night RAW to talk about Monday Night RAW. Also review some Smackdown and a couple other, subjects that are worth talking about. Today on this show, we're going to talk about, obviously, as I mentioned before, we're also going to talk about Hulk Hogan's new wrestling venture with Eric Bischoff, and we're also going to talk about WWE's best and worst finishers. So make sure you guys, stay tuned for that. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hopefully you guys are having a great week. Obviously it is Monday. A lot of people, we do dread Monday, but to be brutally honest, Monday, wrestling will always take care of you. We got Monday Night Raw. We got Tuesday nights on NXT. We talk about WWE Evolve, also Dynamite on Wednesdays. Also, we have TNA and Ring of Honor on Thursdays. And then Friday, obviously, some Friday Night Smackdown. It's always doubling, for that matter, in terms of being a wrestling fan. So, we have some pretty nice, Also, we had the NBA playoffs heating up. Those who are NBA fans who are watching it, I did watch the Golden State Warriors defeat the Houston Rockets in that Game 7. I thought that was pretty badass. I thought that was pretty cool. I want to see Steph win another ring. I'm sorry. I feel like... a lot of people in terms of throwing in who's the GOAT in the NBA, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, obvious picks, but you can't count out Steph Curry. Steph Curry really is, he changed the game of basketball. He revolutionized the value of having a three-point shooter. He revolutionized people playing small ball, not really dominant by a big man anymore during this during his tenure. Nowadays, I feel like it's kind of heading toward that same that old school basketball with with Jokic and Edwards. You kind of have that big guy in the middle where you kind of need it, but you can't take anything away from Steph Curry. But this is a wrestling podcast. Let's talk about some professional wrestling. But before we get on into any of that, I just want to remind you guys to go ahead and hit up that tips and donations link. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. Obviously, be active during the chat. Just want to, know what you guys are, hot takes in terms of the world of professional wrestling, or just something you've been dying to get off your chest here at the GSMC Sports Network. We do value your guys' thoughts, opinions, and and overall your, what you guys want to say about professional wrestling. So make sure you guys participate actively in that chat. This podcast is all about keeping the conversation lively, making sure you guys feel like your voice is part of the mix. So don't be shy to drop your thoughts inside that chat. And if you really want to make sure you comment, question, or concern, hit up that super chat. If not, always feel welcome to hit up the chat. Don't even worry about obviously give what you can. Obviously your super chats helps us keep the lights on all these amazing podcasts with all these passionate, enthusiastic, charismatic podcasters who have one goal in mind: to make sure you guys consume all the sports content that you guys love so damn much. And guess what? It's absolutely FREE free once you subscribe to the GSMC Sports Network, the GSMC Podcasting Network. So why not throw a couple of shekels, through bones, here and there. We are super grateful for each and every one of you guys who joins us here daily on the GSMC Sports Network. Your support makes all the difference. So let's get this party started. Send in those super chats, those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome, and together we will make sure this is the best wrestling podcast in the world. Actually, there's a lot of great podcasts out there. I'm a huge fan of... Obviously not going to give out no free shout-outs. What do you think this podcast is made for? What do you think? I'm just kidding, no. But yeah, there's a lot of awesome streamers out there, so make sure you guys, check those, we're a wrestling family. Something that's awesome about professional wrestling is once when you kind of bump into somebody in public, and they're wearing a Seth Rollins shirt, they're wearing Macho Man Randy Savage, you automatically just kind of feel like you're part of the family. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty badass to be a wrestling fan, and this fandom is we're family. So 1,010%. Make sure you guys drop your comment, question, or concern inside that chat. And without further ado, we're gonna talk about some WWE Monday Night Raw. Obviously, it just got done airing on the East Coast, now on the West Coast. If you're not subscribed to Netflix, if you are, YouTube TV. Well, actually, I don't even know. No, it's not the USA Network. I lied about that. But if you're watching it now on Netflix, obviously, spoiler alert. I already watched it. First and foremost, we have Jey Uso come out and call out Logan Paul. automatically just shut down. We had Paul Heyman come out, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. And, it just kind of makes me feel like, and I know, on this podcast, I feel like I'm like the biggest Logan Paul fan, as opposed to all the other wrestling fans that are like, get this guy out of here. But, I kind of did not like how Logan Paul was ultimately, overshadowed by Paul Heyman. It was kind of like a gift, but it wasn't a gift at the same time. When Logan Paul called out Jey Uso last week on Monday Night Raw, I knew that it was going to be the end of Logan Paul. It was too soon. It was way too soon. Jey Uso on a huge, he's so over. Absolutely so over right now. And with Logan Paul, not really being appreciated by the fans. And by all means, they have their reasons and stuff like that. But if you're trying to build up this guy, and then over and over and over again on Monday Night Raw, every single time someone cuts a promo against Logan Paul, there's always that, that YouTube star. You're just a YouTube star. You don't know what wrestling's all about. And it just kind of further kicks and digs on into Logan Paul's legacy, becoming a WWE superstar. And I feel like it's bad. I feel like that overall is bad for Logan Paul. But we got Paul Heyman instead of Paul. Paul Heyman going full heel. We're seeing full heel Paul Heyman saying, hey, y'all can keep your booze to yourself. He found Roman Reigns on an island of irrelevancy, and that is 1,010% correct. Who all remembered Roman Reigns before Paul Heyman got involved? Yeah, he was some guy that a lot of the WWE fans thought that, Roman Reigns was being forced down their throat. That babyface, and it sucks because Roman literally does have, he has skills. He's well run inside the ring, and he has a lot of family out there, obviously from the dynasty of the Inoue family, also the Fatus and the Maiveas. So if there's anybody that can bring that could bring Roman Reigns to relevancy, it's definitely going to be Paul Heyman. But I definitely liked how Paul Heyman pointed that out during during his promo. I thought that was pretty badass. He said the step 2. What's my step 2? My step 2 is going after the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Obviously, Jey Uso at this point looks absolutely stunned. He looks, he kind of looked a little flustered. He looked a little scared, and kind of coming off a doubt, be like, okay, I prepared for Gunther ever since Saturday night's main event. He was this close away from defeating Gunther for that World Heavyweight Championship. Obviously, it did have to wait to WrestleMania 41. But at the end of the day, Jey Uso had that all that time to scout. And he's never defeated Seth Rollins cleanly within a match. And obviously heading into the main event, which we will talk about later, once again didn't really come to fruition. So Jey Uso, once again, coming out of, kind of being a little bit aggressive, being like, let's do it right now, Uso in Omaha, Nebraska, why not, let's do it here, and now, and then, Paul Heyman, scrumbles in the back, and he's like, oh, we got him, you know what I mean, like classic mastermind kind of brains behind the operation, and Seth Rollins is like, I don't want to be the guy that says, hey, I told you so, but I told you so. And for me, I was kind of like, then Paul Heyman goes on a rant about with Bron Breakker about everything that's going down. CM Punk and Roman Reigns lost against Seth Rollins, this, that, and the other. You are so privileged to witness the greatness of Seth Rollins, and it was it did its part, but at the same time, I was kind of like, all right, you're dragging it on there, Paul. Keep going. Okay, now it seems like we're kind of losing it here. Next, we have Penta taking on JD McDonough, and obviously, you see the Judgment Day get involved inside the match. You saw kind of Penta kind of. I'm a huge fan of Penta, 1,010%, but I actually am a huge fan of JD McDonough, and I feel like this was a chance for WWE to kind of put him on. Once when he kind of came back from that punctured lung injury in that War Raiders tag team match for the WWE World Tag Team Championships, he was relatively liked by the WWE Universe. He was very welcomed, and then when he made his way back, and then in the backstage banter with the Judgment Day, he was kind of looking around. He's like, dude, like, what's going on here? He kind of looked like a lost soul. But WWE straight up stamped it on him that he is, he's going to take his place and he's going to be a heel on the Judgment Day, which I kind of didn't like. I was kind of thinking about, out of the two people in the Judgment Day that probably do not, I feel like they do not need to suffer once when this faction goes under, not Liv Morgan, not Raquel Rodriguez, not Carlito, not Dominic Mysterio. It's got to be Finn Balor and JD McDonough. If they can literally go out there and be like, a straight up tag team, they have great chemistry together, 1,010%. They really honestly do not need the Judgment Day. And then, now that, Triple H, Paul Levesque had JD McDonough ultimately come out here to take on Penta as a heel. I understand, Dominic Mysterio is facing him at Backlash for that WWE Intercontinental Championship. But Penta, picking up the victory, I thought that was pretty cool. Obviously building up momentum toward his title shot. We have Sheamus defeating Austin Theory. Once again, Grayson Waller. When are we going to get this breakup, guys? We've been flirting with this breakup for so freaking long, and it's beginning to become troublesome. They were tag team in Smackdown. They won the WWE World Tag Team Championships last year at WrestleMania, which is cool and all. It's all great. It's all gravy, baby. Go ahead, whatever you guys want to depict it as, perspective wise. But I feel like Austin Theory, he was the last Vince McMahon guy. He won that Money in the Bank, and then it kind of faltered under, which kind of sucked. But Grayson Waller, I feel like, is bringing Austin Theory down. He's bringing Austin Theory down in so many ways, and it sucks because I love Austin Theory. I love the way he could possibly be a really big babyface in the world of WWE if they allow him to do so. So, obviously, we'll see what happens heading into Backlash. I feel like, but then again, we've been bantering and we've been speculating on this for about almost a year about A-Town Down Under breaking up. So every single time I think they're breaking up, they don't break up, and I look like I have my head on my arse and I'm like, oh crap, here we go again. But yeah, it was it is what it is. Becky Lynch comes out, coming out in flailing flying colors saying that Bayley, she's garbage and Lyra Valkyria is recycling. And I gotta be honest, I don't like it. I really don't like this side of Becky. She looks fake. 1,010%. It's her coming out and ranting and being like that pissed off neighbor. Get off my lawn! It's not really that WWE. It's not what the man is supposed to be. You know what I mean? And I get it. I know whenever WWE has, when they have couples wrestling, like you've seen it with Maurice and The Miz. You've seen it with who's the other couple that came in? God, I just saw them today. Oh God, I'm blanking right now. But there's so many. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Obviously, you guys know they are married. Obviously, they are. They had babies and stuff like that. They're a family. But it's just if someone's a babyface in the family and if someone's a heel, it kind of seems a little you've seen it with the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Bianca Belair, and it's it's all right. It's all right. I want to see Bianca turn heel, but that's just me. All right, rapidly finishes out. We're running short on this segment, so we're gonna speed things up a little bit. Io Sky defeat Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez, her attire was interesting. I thought automatically, I saw the stars. I saw the overall presentation of the production in her entrance. I thought of Cora Jade. I felt like maybe she was kind of paying homage to her best friend who recently got released from WWE. So that was that was pretty crazy. The match was great. The match was awesome, but it was ultimately Giulia got involved. The NXT superstars are absolutely running rampant over Monday Night Raw. Next, we have Otis taking on Rusev. How powerful do you want Rusev to look like? How much do you want him to look like Miro from AEW? When he comes back, and it's, I thought it was cool that Rusev came back. 1,010%. I thought, it was the right move for him. It was the right move for WWE. But then you look at the recent releases from WWE, and you're like, damn, being honest, dude, if you're doing that, what comes up must come down. And, if you sign some superstars, then obviously some of them have to be released. I would have took Braun Strowman over Miro for decades, for days, for years, for decades, for centuries. like I said, I'm not trying to, throw shade at Rusev. But it just doesn't really end. The first day Rusev comes back for his full-time match, he bullies the Alpha Academy, Akira Tozawa, Otis, Maxine Dupree. Like, how relevant does that make you? Like, literally, where does that put you? Not in the Intercontinental Championship picture, not in the WWE World Heavyweight Championship picture, not at all. Rusev would probably be lucky enough to find himself in the WWE Men's Speed Championship match. But as of right now, obviously it's still young. So maybe it'll all come in fruition in the future. But as of right now, I don't really, not really a believer here. Pat McAfee and Gunther go face to face. Pat McAfee gasses up the Omaha, Nebraska crowd while Gunther is basically saying that, hey man, I'm ready for you. I'm preparing for you. Do not think I'm going to overestimate or underestimate you, for that matter. I feel like Goldberg is coming. I feel like he's going to be the reason of why Pat McAfee wins, and it's kind of crazy, but you did see Pat McAfee in College Game Day, and Goldberg as well. So it's maybe, I don't know. I just hope they do it well. I don't want Gunther buried because of another bad WWE promo or setup or anything of that matter. I just don't want Gunther to suffer because I feel like he is a great World Heavyweight Championship contender. He's a great top guy. He really is. And I know putting the belt on Jey was the right move, but Gunther, he needs to be in that championship picture. Anything short of the WWE Championship or back on that throne holding the World Heavyweight Championship would honestly kind of be a Lux, would not be good for him. So, I don't know. I just, hope for the best of Gunther. And in the main event, we have the World Heavyweight Championship match. Jey Uso defends his title against the Revolutionary, the Architect, Seth freaking Rollins, and it was a good match. It was a 5-star match. It was super badass. A lot of near falls. CM Punk coming out. Sami Zayn. It was bedlam. But at the end of the day, you had CM Punk cost Seth Rollins a chance to be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And, chairs all around. So CM Punk obviously has a huge axe to grind for one of two reasons. Two reasons, obviously. You had his best friend Paul Heyman stab him in the back to align himself with Seth freaking Rollins. And then you had him and Seth Rollins having a huge feud before, everything happened with WrestleMania and Roman Reigns. So we are in for a doozy. I want to see this match come in fruition. I feel like this was a nice spot for WWE, for a lot of fans being like, okay, who's going to challenge Jey? 9 times out of 10, you're going to get the answer, Seth Rollins. This was a great way to get that answer out of everyone's mouth. Be like, okay, so Seth, he did have his chance. He was screwed, yes, but now he's going ahead and handle all his fixtures over there with CM Punk. So now WWE can focus on Jey Uso becoming his own entity, becoming a visionary champion, becoming the World Heavyweight Champion without a lingering threat as of this new stable that was formed from Paul Heyman with Bron Breakker and Seth Rollins. So all in all, I feel like it was a great match. The ending did what it had to do to overall protect Jey Uso's World Heavyweight Championship picture, which by all means, I'm not trying to crap on Jey Uso saying that he's not a well-deserving champion. He is. He's so over with the fans right now, but as of right now, there are so many people who have a chance to knock on that door. I'm excited to find out who is going to be that next person. And we can definitely talk about it. All right, so we talked about some SmackDown. We talked about Raw. Now we're going to talk about some SmackDown. WWE SmackDown live from Des Moines, Iowa. We're going to talk about it. So grab your favorite Idaho. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage. Join me here in about 25 seconds away. Do not go absolutely anywhere.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit, I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant, I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some loose shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on the GSMC Sports Network, the GSMC Podcasting Network on YouTube. So make sure you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Get notifications when we go live and publish new content. We also talk about all the action inside and outside of the ring as well. We talk about promotions from WWE, AEW, TNA, Ring of Honor, and when did we dabble in some wrestling history like ECW, old school TNA, WCW, the WWF. We talk about everything in terms of in terms of professional wrestling. So make sure you guys don't miss out on being a part of this awesome GSMC Sports Wrestling Bloodline. So make sure you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. All right, without further ado, let's go and jump on into our next segment. We talked Monday Night Raw. Now we're talking about WWE Smackdown, 1,010%. Can't wait to get on into it. But before we get on into any of that, just want to remind you guys to go ahead and hit up that tips and donations link. Also hit up that super chat. Whether if you got a burning question or a hot take in terms of the world of professional wrestling here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity, 1,010%. But in terms of talking sports, it's inevitable. There's going to be some criticisms. There's going to be some disagreements. Obviously, just want to make sure you guys feel absolutely comfortable to drop anything, what you guys feel like inside that chat. Don't be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat. But if you really want to make sure your comment, question, or concern gets noticed, hit up that super chat button. Give what you can. Obviously, if you can, do not let that discourage you. Participate in the chat 1,010%. But the super chats obviously helps the network keep the lights on all these amazing podcasts. All these passionate, enthusiastic, amazing, gifted podcasters we have here on the network that only want to achieve one goal: to make sure you guys consume all the sports content that you guys love so damn much each and every day for absolutely, guess what, FREE, free. So what do you have to lose to subscribe to such an amazing sports network and some podcasters who absolutely value your guys' opinion 1,010%. So don't be shy, drop your thoughts inside that chat. We are super grateful for each and every one of you guys who joins us here daily, who subscribes, who is part of the who is part of the GSMC Sports family. So from the bottom of my heart, absolutely thank you so damn much. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's get this party going, guys, and go on with our second segment. We got WWE Smackdown talk, and I'm excited to talk about Smackdown. It was good. It was, I thought it was pretty awesome. 1,010%. I had nothing to, the second Smackdown after WrestleMania. It's I really honestly don't see how WWE is going to be able to put up so much talent with this, with them ditching the 3-hour show in June. We have about one more month of it. And I feel like the tag team division might go back down to what it used to be, which was, I don't want to use bad words or anything, crap. But I feel like the SH, I'm just kidding, no. But overall, I feel like ever since SmackDown moved to 3 hours, you've seen a lot more, you've seen a lot of superstars kind of get theirs. You've seen Naomi with this new, persona of her, having caution tape wrapped around her body and becoming this new entity that is dangerous. She's Pele Grosso. She's absolutely, she's a badass. She's a badass, to say the least. Also, we got Pretty Deadly in the mix as well. Los Garza, Santos Escobar, Rey Fenix. We have a lot. It's just, it is going to be absolutely amazing to find out how WWE is going to keep all these talents relevant with, shifting back to the 2-hour, mark at the beginning of June. But, neither here nor there. We're going to talk about some SmackDown. On Friday night SmackDown, like I said before, it was a pretty dope show. Honestly, have no gillies behind it. We started off with the confrontation between Damian Priest and the LA Knight. And to be honest, guys, the LA Knight, Damian Priest, I feel like, two of WWE's baby faces. They are. They're, two of the WWE's best baby faces right now. I respect Damian Priest and I love him. I do. I feel like, him as Mr. Money in the Bank was pretty badass. LA Knight is literally staying relevant within the wrestling world because of his catchphrase of, yeah! And WWE knows that. WWE 1,010%, they do not want their fans to lose that yeah factor. So, as much as a lot of people feel like LA Knight should turn heel to save his career, I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's going to happen. I feel like, with this new day and age of the Paul Levesque era, I feel like they are adapting, they're kind of mimicking a lot of what their sister company, the UFC, is doing. Obviously, both of them under the TKO holdings. You have UFC fighters who are bad guys, who aren't necessarily bad. They don't play the part. They're a little more confident. They're a little bit more outspoken. They're more in your face than a lot of the, the fans of the fan favorites or the baby faces of whatnot. You gotta let these guys literally go out there and kind of do their own thing. Other than that, how many times do you want to make the audience look silly? You want to make them look dumb. You want to try to pass something past their heads, although the whole time they saw it come into their glove and they caught it. How many times could you fool the fans? And, professional wrestling, especially under the Vince McMahon era, which was absolute garbage, it was awful, which has been kind of dabbling into what it is now. And, a lot of people, WrestleMania 41 was not that great. WrestleMania 40 with Cody Rhodes completed the story. Did Triple H, Paul Levesque just get it? Did he just get lucky? Did he just get lucky? During this Paul Levesque era, is it like, was it really Triple H? Was it really? Or was it everything building up with, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, then Seth Rollins, The Rock, The Undertaker? You can't beat that. It started off with such a great legacy, and now it seems like it's kind of faltering into what it was during the Vince McMahon era. You have, countless superstars without a direction. Damian Priest losing that street match to Drew McIntyre. I love Drew McIntyre, but I feel like Drew McIntyre was kind of already on that heavyweight pedestal, but Damian Priest kind of needed to win a little bit more. You had Jakob Fatu win the WWE United States Championship, which by all means I felt like was a great decision. Obviously, during the match, it was interrupted, and the only person standing tall was the United States Champion Jakob Fatu, who is so over by the fans, by the way. The fans absolutely love themselves some Jakob Fatu. And it's not shocking. It's not shocking that a lot of these wrestling guys who come from independent wrestling circuits, as opposed to these homegrown WWE guys, it just shows that you can definitely have an audience from a different demographic. First and foremost, you can have an audience from, it doesn't necessarily have to be part of that WWE cliche kind of bloodline kind of thing. Once when Jakob Fatu came in, a lot of fans were like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? Why should we care? Solo Sikoa did what he had to do. Solo Sikoa put him on the map, and now Solo Sikoa is using that for basically controlling Jacob. And I feel like at the end of the day, you will see Solo Sikoa and Jacob go at it. I have this belief that Solo Sikoa will drop the United States Championship at Backlash, thanks to Solo Sikoa building up toward a match at SummerSlam. Maybe he does something where he feels like he tries to help Jacob, but at the end of the day, he kind of hits his Achilles heel, or one of those things are like, you're ready to be champion, but you're not just ready yet. And then he goes face to face, and of course all the fans absolutely love Jakob Fatu. So he has a bright future. So I'm not really complaining too much. Next, we have the newly acquired WWE SmackDown Tag Team Fraxium, Nathan Frazier and Axiom defeating Pretty Deadly. I thought that was pretty badass. I'm a huge fan of Fraxium. I am. I'm a Fraxium fan. I can't help it. These guys inside the ring, absolute magic. They used to go at each other head to head, but NXT was absolutely fire with them as the tag team champions. Hank and Tank, congratulations for winning the NXT tag team championships. But to be brutally honest, I feel like NXT kind of dropped the ball with this one. With Nathan Frazier and Fraxium, I honestly wanted them to go to Raw because I feel like the SmackDown tag team division. But then again, we do have the draft right around the corner. Nothing's been said, nothing's been mentioned on SmackDown or Raw as of right now, as opposed to last year. Last year, around this same date, we already had the draft going on. Obviously with the buzz with the NFL draft and stuff like that. But a lot of shocking picks. But you can bet Fraxium by the end of 2025 to be holding a WWE Raw Tag Team Championships, and I definitely love it. Next, we have a confrontation between Nia Jax and Naomi, and kind of looking at these two girls, they're great. Nia Jax, part of the bloodline technically. Naomi, part of the bloodline technically. But it seems like this is the last chance that Naomi really has. She does have her contract ending. It's been, speculated through rumors that she wants to start a family before the age of, I think she's 36 or 37, don't quote me on that. She wants to start a family by the age of 40 with a Jey Uso. SmackDown, I didn't see him. Or maybe he was like their, part of a backstage vignette. Not too sure. But this is going to be Naomi's chance. Naomi, throughout her whole career, play, the Funkadactos. You guys are Brodus Clay. You guys remember those guys. You remember, Naomi being part of the, kind of Divas evolution, so to speak, near the end-ish. And then, you saw her as being like as a steady SmackDown or WWE Raw superstar who was able to put on a good match, to put on a decent stable, to be able to ultimately kind of being, flirting with the championship picture here and there, but not really kind of, getting to it. But this is the last chance Naomi has. And it sucks. It really does suck because I do have a lot of respect for her. And I ultimately feel like she could be a champion. And with this new persona, you saw it at the end of the show. You saw her as the last woman standing, which is pretty awesome. But I doubt she's going to get the championship, and it sucks so damn bad. But hey, it is what it is. Next, we have The Miz taking on Aleister Black. Two superstars that are absolutely, Aleister Black obviously being re-signed by WWE. And then you have The Miz, who's been, desperately seeking like a storyline. I feel like The Miz is highly underestimated. I do. I feel like 1,010%. This was the mid-card match. That match where, it's in the middle of the show. A lot of people kind of take it as, you have the build-up of the show, and then you have the main event, and then right in the middle, smack dab in the middle, you have The Miz. You have Aleister Black, who should damn near be in the main event picture. But this match in the middle of the show screamed mid-card title, United States Championship all over it. And it was awful. It was terrible. It was, I didn't like it. You bring back Aleister Black just to be a part of this. And then you have The Miz being around in the backstage, putting over superstars. Yeah, that's cool. Go, yeah, Miz, go. You put over superstars. Yes, you go home to a beautiful wife and your family every single time you go home. That doesn't necessarily mean you have, ambitions. That doesn't mean you have goals. That doesn't mean, and The Miz does. The Miz, he has all that. He could definitely be that and a bag of chips. He could be an Intercontinental champion. He could be the United States champion. I don't really know what WWE is doing with The Miz at this moment. He's not old. He still has a lot left in the tank. Why you should? I don't know. I feel like they're maybe are you burying him for some strange reason? Like, did he get an argument with Michael Hayes in the back? Like, seriously? And Aleister Black too. These two superstars need to be in the heavyweight picture, not just for themselves, but for WWE. These two guys need to be in the heavyweight picture. There's so many guys in the United States Championship picture. It needs to end. And this match should have been the main event, but it wasn't. Why it wasn't, it was awful, it was terrible. But, like I said, I do love to see The Miz. I do love to see Aleister Black back in WWE. I love the stare down. I love the face off between Carmelo Hayes and Aleister Black. I thought that was important for both of their characters heading toward the future. That's probably the best thing that came out of this match. And it sucks to say because I want to see Aleister Black in that main event picture. I want to see The Miz back into that main event picture. But so far, this match in the middle of the show, the way it ended, how it ended, and it just seemed like it screamed the United States Championship picture. And there's so many other guys who are fit for that, and it's not one of these superstars. But, hopefully it all changes. Next, we have Zelina Vega taking on Piper Niven. She defeats her with, much to the chagrin of Chelsea Green. At the end of the match, you saw Chelsea, kind of get involved, which was pretty awesome, although she has not invoked her rematch clause. She recently signed an extension with WWE, so you can expect to see her back. Basically, you can expect to see her back probably on top of the United States Women's Championship picture, maybe bouncing the title back and forth like Dolph Ziggler and The Miz did. Maybe we see something like that. Next, we have Randy Orton. This promo, it served its purpose. Obviously, it did. It did what it did. I feel like this upcoming match between Cena and Randy Orton, a lot of people are like, oh my God, this is the best match. This is the best match that Randy Orton and John Cena are ever going to have. And I actually disagree. I highly disagree. The promo between John Cena and Randy Orton, it's just, I feel like both of them kind of know. They're like, this match really isn't going to mean anything. I feel like they're going to be fighting. And much like you kind of saw Randy Orton once when he defended his championship against John Cena, who slapped the referee to intentionally disqualify himself, you're going to see some poetic justice happen between that match at Backlash in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm not trying. Maybe that's the reason why I'm kind of a little cynical about it. Maybe that's the reason why I'm not trying to be, not trying to get excited about it, because I kind of already know how it's going to end. But it is what it is. Like I said, questioning family, Randy Orton's family legacy is a little harsh, but something that I definitely do love is how Ron, the Truth Killings, R-Truth, is standing behind his childhood hero. I want to be like John Cena when I grow up. And then Randy Orton's looking at him, he's like, bro. No, it's funny. Obviously, I feel like there has to be a little bit of comedic value. Rey Fenix and Santos Escobar absolutely tore the house down. It was cool to see Rey Fenix pick up the dub. We're in the main event. Jade Cargill teams with the WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton against Nia Jax and Naomi. This match was actually super. It was pretty cool. It was a nice little, Jade got a clean pin. Can't take anything away from her in terms of that. She hit Nia Jax with that super power bomb from the top rope, pinned her 1, 2, 3 clean. Absolutely, defining Jade as a future absolute heavyweight badass within the women's division. After the match, you saw Jade Cargill look at the championship, hold it up, and it seems like she's hungry. She wants a chance at Tiffany Stratton, but the only one standing tall. And I gotta be honest, I love this. I love that Naomi stood strong. She was the last one standing. This is her last chance in WWE to kind of be something more than a fucking dacto, to be something more than Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill's best friend, to be something more than just that, Bailey, your friends. Like, Naomi needs a legacy to kind of walk off of, and she wants to start her family, like I mentioned before, with Jimmy. She wants to, before the age of 40, she's 37, I believe, 36. Time's ticking. What are you going to do, Naomi? Are you going to, look doubt in the face? Are you going to, go into business on yourself and kind of do something for all these WWE fans to remember you by? Because as of right now, legacy, respect, it's there. But as a champion, no. Naomi will not be in the WWE Hall of Fame. She won't. This is her last chance to lash out and do something. So, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't happen. But, Naomi, if you want to do something right now is your chance 1,010%. All right, guys, so hey, do not go anywhere. We're going to jump on into our third segment. We got Hulk Hogan's Real American Amateur Wrestling. Is this bad for professional wrestling? What is going on backstage? Is there a chance that him and Eric Bischoff could possibly pull this off? So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, join me here in about 20 seconds. So hey, do not go anywhere.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we are back for the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, live every Monday night, 8 p.m. Pacific time on the GSMC Sports Network. We talk about all the action inside and outside the ring, all the backstage curtain calls, all the rumors, all the dramas, all the wrestling fan conspiracy theories. We talk about contract negotiations, extensions, and releases in terms of wrestling superstars. We talk about injuries as well as inactive statuses. We talk about basically everything under the sun. If it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling, we talk about it here on this show, 1,010%. So don't forget to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Follow the show. Follow the network here, the GSMC Sports Network. We do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity, 1,010%. But in terms of talking sports, like professional wrestling, there's going to be some disagreements, there's criticisms, and it's all good. It's already water under the bridge. It's all gravy, baby. Do not worry. Don't be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat. And 1,010%, we want to make sure you guys feel absolutely comfortable to subscribing to such an amazing sports content, such an amazing podcasting network that you will never, ever, ever give you the Eric Rodriguez guarantee that you will never, ever, ever regret subscribing to such an amazing sports network who takes care of their family, takes care of their fans. We value you guys' opinions and definitely appreciate everything you guys, your attention, the subscribes, the thumbs up and all that, the super chats, all that, and a bag of chips. So definitely appreciate you guys 1,010%. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. All right, without further ado, we're going to talk about Hulk Hogan's Real American Amateur Wrestling. I am a real American, fight for the rights of every man. Does he really? Hulk Hogan, obviously. Is Hulk Hogan bad for wrestling? I am not a huge, I'm not a believer. I gotta be honest, I'm not. I have fully sold my stock on Hulk Hogan, and not trying to be, not trying to throw shade. Obviously, he had his glory days. You see it happen in Hollywood with all these celebrities and all that. Like it happens. I'm sorry, but it does. It happens where you have your 15 minutes of fame, or your Tom Cruise, and you star in all these movies, Impossible, you're the Maverick and stuff like that. And then something comes out about you being a Scientologist, and everyone's like, damn you, Tom Cruise. But at the same time, you're kind of like, hey, dude, I'm just living my life. Maybe from an outside perspective, maybe that's exactly what's happening with Hulk Hogan here. And by all, I always, it's not like I never liked Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan during the 80s, obviously an absolute banger. And then, going to WCW, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and eventually making it back to the WWE with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and the way they did WWE so dirty. And, and it was, I don't want to say Eric Bischoff is like the grand Steen of them all. I definitely don't want to do that 1,010%. But WCW was kind of faltered in the ground, mostly because of these two gentlemen right here. Hulk Hogan had a creative clause on his contract, meaning that, hey, hey, brother, I get to choose who I lose to, brother. I get to choose who I get to talk to backstage, brother. I get to choose. I'm just like, but it's something that, you never had anybody go to, because wrestling is entertainment. You never had a star like Robert Downey Jr. go to the person who directed Avengers Endgame Part 2 and be like, hey, guess what, man? I'm not dying at the end. But then the director and the producer's like, but it would be so awesome. Like, your legacy will live on. You will be the most beloved Iron Man. You'll be the most beloved superhero within the Avengers franchise and the Marvel Universe and Stan Lee. And then, like, Tony Stark and, Robert Downey Jr. is like, no, I'm not dying. Like, sorry. Not doing that. Have somebody else do it. Like Doctor Strange and, I'm just kidding. No. But ultimately, like, what I'm trying to kind of depict on this example is that sometimes just be a star. Sometimes just be a wrestler. Let the people with the creative ideas and the storylines, and you've been in a wrestling icon since the 80s, and you have my respect, but you come in demanding things, thinking that you're your top stuff because of said accomplishments, which by all means is that can happen within professional wrestling. A lot of professional wrestlers go from being wrestlers to creative. Go to being, personnel. Go to being, associates. Even backstage. Once when, WWE, you see the two superstars break out into a fight. Who's the one to break them up? You see Kenny Dykstra, Jamie Noble, Jason Jordan. You see a lot of these guys. Fit Finlay, Hurricane Helms. And it's like, sometimes you pay your dues, but at the same time, it's not the same thing. Hulk Hogan, is an absolute public relations mess. Like I said, one of the most iconic wrestlers in the 80s whose legacy is absolutely tarnished 1,010%. And now he's starting a wrestling venture. Obviously, you guys saw him during that Monday Night Raw Netflix premiere, was booed off stage. No one wanted to do anything with his crap, with his real American beer. Super awesome. And his partner, Eric Bischoff, claims to be a professional wrestling guru who ran WCW to the ground, who, had a chance at WWE. I know there's a lot of, backstage, politics in terms of that, so I'm not really going to kind of fault him on that. Moves to TNA with Hulk Hogan, with Dixie Carter, and Dixie Carter, she straight up took her Panda Energy, sponsorship, who mostly funded, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, and they were like, yeah, you know what, I'm good. And Eric Bischoff has the audacity to constantly criticize the AEW chairman, the president, or whatever you guys want to call him, Tony Khan. And I feel like at this point, Eric Bischoff really doesn't really have a say so. Look what you did at WCW. You literally inserted yourself into the most powerful faction in wrestling history, which was the New World Order, and it was just all bad. And I mentioned before Dixie Carter, with TNA, she was. Then you had the phenomenal AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. Then you had the Aces and Aids, Bobby Roode, Austin Aries. You had all those amazing badass, the Monster Abyss, Jay Lethal, Christopher Daniels, James Storm. You have TNA was at they were skyrocketing. The peak of TNA, I feel like, was like 2005 to like 2008, and then stuff started kind of going down. Stuff started going down. Like I said before, Dixie Carter, her dad, one of the owners of Panda Energy, took their sponsorship, pulled it from TNA, and then TNA was kind of left on her own arses, and they're like, okay, what are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do? And Hulk Hogan, is an egomaniac. Egomaniac, 1,010%. Absolutely, like I said, just a walking, talking, negative public relations. He's bad. He's bad for professional wrestling. And I've said it before, and I'm not, Terry, he's cool. I never had a chance to meet the guy, but overall, talk about a guy who literally kind of went from 100 to 0. Had a chance to kind of give wrestling fans, you think you're better than wrestling. You think you're better than you think you're better than the company that made you who you are, who sucked their neck out. And I know it's during the Vince McMahon era, so I'm not necessarily, blessing Vince McMahon too much on this one as well. But if there's anybody who's literally kind of like Vince McMahon, it's got to be like Hulk Hogan. If you guys watch the Netflix documentary with Mr. McMahon, there's a lot of wrestlers who kind of had this same notion, who had these same, styles of thinking, who had these same philosophies in terms of life. Is, degrade women, do what you have to do to stay inside the spotlight, don't care about what other people say, do you, be a badass, and at the end of the day, you will cut checks and, send them to the bank. But, sometimes that kind of comes back and bites you in the ass on that one. So, recently, you've seen, obviously, you've seen Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff. As of, I think it was last Monday. Last Monday they came out with, a black and white NWO style promo, advertisement, whatever you guys want to hear. What do you guys want? Well, whatever you guys want to call it. And, with the cheesy laugh and the attitude in your face, be like, oh, we're so back. Like, really? Like, are you kidding? Like, you're so back from what? What are you back from? Honestly, and then you saw Hulk Hogan playing with the taser in the background. Like, really, Terry? Really? Is this project supposed to stop wrestling fans from thinking that you're a total, absolute, POS? Is this supposed to, help the wrestling fandom come back to you? Is this another chance for you, maybe a couple other crooks like Vince McMahon, to kind of get into business, to be like, okay, let's get into, we want our own wrestling business? And it was just, it was all bad. A real American freestyle wrestling, the NCAA Division I wrestler who now turned into a business owner. We had, I think his name was Israel? No, damn it, where's his name? Oh, but anyways, nothing against the real American, the real American freestyle wrestler guy here. Nothing against him. Obviously, you see a little cash here and there and be like, hey, we have two guys who are absolutely recognizable within the wrestling industry. Will not be, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, 1,010%, to kind of go into business with two people who are absolutely known already. They have funding already, so it's not really, and then teasing the third guy, throwing cash around me, kind of teasing that they are financially stable, which by all means, which is pretty cool, which, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I'm thinking of maybe a UFC kind of feel here. Maybe, you have UFC, inside the octagon, actual striking, actual wrestling. WWE, it's entertainment, it's choreographed, it's predetermined, yada, yada, yada. But this is supposed to be wrestling, but UFC-atized, I guess you can say. It's, you're going to see guys in there actually, getting their ass kicked and yada, yada, yada. The whole Hulk Hogan thing. There's been rumors that maybe it's been backed by Donald Trump. Possibly, not really throwing anything out there. Then Hulk Hogan, obviously very live within the, Republican Party. He said that he was going to body slam Kamala Harris, and then he mentioned, also, he mentioned some, racist slurs, and stuff like that. And, it's just Hulk Hogan once again doing what Hulk Hogan does. Recently, a couple of months ago, you saw his ex-wife. She went live on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, whatever you guys like to call it, and basically said how Hulk Hogan was a huge, he was kind of an ass, just all the stuff behind the scenes, you see Brooke, I don't remember the son's name, obviously, I don't really bother myself to, really care about what his name, Nick. His name's Nick. But no. And then she basically sent out the whole family, doesn't really talk to anybody. And, Terry's a huge part of that. He's, very, consumed with drugs and alcohol. He's very consumed with, obviously, her words, not mine, allegations of, being a sexual predator and stuff like that, but still not really great in terms of your public image, especially if you're trying to be, if you're trying to start a new wrestling company, or if you're great, all-American beer, And I don't know, it's just all in all, Hulk Hogan, no matter what he does, and during the promotion within his new Beer Legacy tour, I guess the fans left, ultimately kind of upset, kind of a little bit, undersized, kind of feeling a little bit like they did not get exactly what they were basically promised, attending his tours. And is that really, honestly, the legacy that is Hulk Hogan? As of right now, I can say yes. But should that set well with Hulk Hogan? No, it should not. But, it is what it is. He said his third host was going to be an absolute, his business part was going to be an absolute badass, which made me think that maybe it could be The Undertaker. Obviously, then The Undertaker having Donald Trump on his podcast with, basically saying, like, hey, honestly, politics are politics. I'm going to believe in what I want to believe. By all means, that's true. That's true. You shouldn't really cater to, cater to your audience that much. If you have a belief or if you, have a side with the political party or anything like that, Republican, Democrat, whatever you guys want to call yourselves. So at the end of the day, maybe The Undertaker I thought was going to be that third guy, and I thought that would have been badass. I thought that would have been pretty cool. A lot of people kind of thought Shane McMahon would have threw his hat inside the ring to be in business with Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan. And like I said, Donald Trump. A lot of people thought Donald Trump was going to be the third guy to be backing, real American amateur wrestling. Obviously saw Donald Trump, once when you Stevenson. And, oh, God, I can't remember the guy who actually pulled the upset. Damn it. But, he respects that. Elon Musk as well. You see a lot of, getting some funding from that, it's not hurting anybody. It's not hurting anybody. Or, Vince McMahon. I kind of thought it was going to be Vince. I thought because, him and Terry have a huge, they have a nice little close relationship, Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon. What connects, Hulk Hogan within the wrestling world is WCW and WWF. So, not really much of a shock there. I thought maybe we would have saw Eric Bischoff and Vince McMahon come into business once again. Vince McMahon has recently been seen during public outings. You saw him at the Super Bowl. You also saw him at the Knicks game, Madison Square Garden during the playoffs. So it's not really much of a surprise that if you would have saw Vince McMahon as that third partner, once when he was asked about retiring from WWE, he basically said, no, I would never retire from professional wrestling. And obviously his hand was, ultimately kind of forced based on the, the Janelle Grant allegations and stuff like that. Which is, it is what it is. It is what it is. So I kind of thought they were going to do a podcast. That's, I thought that was exactly what they were going to do. But, obviously didn't come to fruition. Now we have this, Izzy Amateur Wrestling. I really hope it does well. I really do. Based on the third guy. Because I feel like he is investing in what Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff is ultimately promising him. And if it goes south like WCW did, TNA, I feel like it'll suck. But you have all these NCAA wrestlers like looking for a purpose, looking for something to do outside of, once when they graduate college, depending on the degree, which is great. Obviously, that's what you do. That's why you commit to college. That's why you, go through all the financial aid and all the BS. So 1,010%, if you can, commit to your studies to have a job that, depends on your intellects instead of your physical capabilities, that's 1,010% with exactly what you should do. But, once again, having the chance to kind of be like, hey, we'll pay you like a WWE superstar, or hey, we'll pay you like a UFC superstar. You come in here, you wrestle. Dana White, looks at the, what's going on in real American amateur wrestling. Maybe you can sign these guys to some UFC contracts. Who knows? This, I don't feel like it's a bad idea. I don't. The production value should be pretty cool. The overall, you're going to see some guys get their ass kicked. That's cool and all, Hulk Hogan. But at the end of the day, you should really shine a light on all these amazing young NCAA Division I wrestlers who are coming in, after graduating, looking for a spot, and you should never be exploited. Should be appreciated. So, I hope that Hulk Hogan, kind of, heading toward that division, direction. But at the end of the day, Hulk Hogan's real American amateur wrestling. It could be something good. I just hope that, Hulk Hogan is willing to, not, dabble in, his sense of business, which has been great. I'm just kidding. Also often. But hey, who knows? All right, guys, we talked about some Hulk Hogan. Now we're going to talk about some of the best WWE finishers of all time. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, drop your favorite finishers inside the chat, and we're going to talk about it. So, do not go anywhere.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC. To access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, live every Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Here to talk about the greatest thing in the world, professional wrestling. We talk about all the action inside and outside of the ring, all the backstage curtain calls, rumors, dramas, and wrestling fan conspiracy theories, which is the greatest. We talk about superstar inactive statuses, injury updates, contract negotiations, extensions, and new signings and releases. We talk about AEW to WWE, Ring of Honor to TNA. We talk about New Japan Professional Wrestling to the GCW to Deathlock Professional Wrestling to Stardom. If it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling, we talk about it here on this show 1010%. So without further ado, go ahead and Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Follow the show, follow the network, be participant inside the chat. Leave nothing but great thoughts. Tell Eric how handsome he is. I'm just kidding. No. But overall, just want to make sure you guys are having absolute fun inside the chat. And now we're going to talk about the best WWE finishers of all time, which is, drop your favorite finishers inside that chat if it did not make the list. Or if it did, be like, Eric, dude, you hit it, man. You nailed it. So without further ado, we have like I said, in terms of talking sports, in terms of talking list, you see this on ESPN, Fox Sports, Barstool Sports. In terms of talking list, guys, come on. It's subjective. Super subjective. It's my opinion, 1010%. I did not include submissions. I did not, because other than that, you would have saw sharpshooter. You would have saw maybe like a crippler crossface. Maybe I did not include tag team moves as well, like the death drop or the 3D from I did want to include the 3D so damn bad with Bubba Ray and Devon. I was like, dude, that was like one of the best finishers in the world. But ultimately, I kind of focus on some single finishers here. So, oh god, really? Okay, so in terms of uploading this, totally bonked this. So I guess we're starting with number one. I wanted to start from number 10, but hey, honestly, it's all... Actually, you know what? Oh, Uncle Eric just, figured out a new thing here. Okay, let's start with number 10. Obviously, you guys already saw my first two. Let's just, brain warp. I'm brainwashing you guys to ignore all you saw within the last 5 seconds. Not the last segment though, because Hulk Hogan's still a piece of crap. But within the last, I'm just kidding. No, moving on. All right, we got number 10. I got Sweet Chin Music. Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid. Shawn Michaels. When you saw him tuning up the band, it was absolutely over. It was over. Shawn Michaels, dude. The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Nobody could ever kick out of the Sweet Chin Music. Obviously, maybe, during WrestleMania, where you had Mike Tyson as a referee, and you had Stone Cold reverse the Sweet Chin Music into a Stone Cold Stutter for that 1, 2, 3. It was because Shawn's back was hurt. That's why. At number 10, I got Sweet Chin Music. At number 9, I had the Choke Slam. From Kane, The Undertaker. The Big Show's choke slam was okay. Damian Priest's South of Heavens is, it's all right. But Kane's chokeslam was an absolute banger. I thought that was pretty badass. At number 9, I have the chokeslam. But then again, you look at Joe Hendry too. I think the Showstopper, is that what it's called? I think it is. It's pretty cool. You know, it works. Chokeslam nonetheless. At number 8, I have the Sister Abigail. I'm a huge Bray Wyatt fan. I love The Fiend, and then you see Alexa Bliss use it as well. Sister Abigail, super badass. Kind of looks like an inverted Crossroads from Cody Rhodes. I do not have Crossroads on this list. But at number 8, one of the best wrestling finishers in WWE of all time has definitely got to be The Fiend's, Bray Wyatt's Sister Abigail. Because if you look at it, there's just so much... There's a personal factor to this finisher. There really is. Like, kisses him on the forehead and be like, look, I don't want to do this to you, but guess what? At the end of the day, I'm going to F your life up. And then, bam, you got that 1, 2, 3, and then, bam, The Fiend wins. I love The Fiend. He's such a good guy. Number 7, I got the Pedigree. Pedigree, Triple H. Triple H, obviously, on my Mount Rushmore professional wrestlers. You can disagree with me all you want. Triple H is the best wrestler of all time. Literally, if WWE had to give the keys to somebody who went from WWE to WCW, back to WWF, and then starting from that Intercontinental Championship run, King of the Ring, with Chyna and DX, and then you somehow, some way, mosey on into, banging the boss's daughter. I'm just kidding, no, not Will Ospreay, not trademarking that remark, because I feel like Triple H, he paid his dues. He really honestly did, guys. Nothing to do with him being with Stephanie McMahon. It had anything to do with him being the CEO, COO, whatever you guys like to call him, of WWE. At number 7, one of the best finishers of all time has got to be the Pedigree. Seth Rollins, he does it. It's all right. He did do, today is Monday, if you watch Monday Night Raw, he did turn in a spear from Jey Uso into a pedigree, which was pretty badass. So, I thought that was, pretty cool. Number 6, I got a Claymore. I love the Claymore. I got to be honest. I think that's pretty badass. Drew McIntyre goes into the corner. He's like, 3, 2, 1, and then bam, Claymore, bam, it's over. It's over, 1,010%. I'm a huge fan of, strikes. I wanted to put the Hidden Blade on here so damn bad, but I did not want to seem too I don't know. I did not want to seem like I was flirting with strikes the whole time. But at number 6, I got the Claymore. Number 5, I got the Gore, not the spear, I got the Gore. There was something different about the Gore from Rhino, from ECW, TNA, WWE. This guy, his spear was different. It was just different. If you say the Gore is like a spear from Jey Uso, that's bullspit. Like Roman Reigns. No. Like Edge. No. Goldberg. No. The best spear ever performed by a wrestling superstar is Rhino. The Gore. The Gore was an absolute. Oh God, it was badass. Bobby Lashley. And of course you have Moose as well. But the Gore just hit differently, dude. I'm sorry, but it did. Number 4, I got the Tombstone. Tombstone, The Undertaker, obviously, the pinning, and be like, it was cool. It was cool. It was, it's a very iconic finisher. Like, when you think about all the WrestleManias, all the, what was he, 24-3 or something like that? It all had to do with him, with the Tombstone pile driver. And Kane, too, used to use it as well. In AEW, I think they kind of use it as a universal move. Maybe that's like an FU to WWE. Maybe, I'm not too sure. Maybe that's my wrestling fan conspiracy theories. Be like, oh, Tony Khan's turned it into a sacred move in WWE held by the Undertaker, and then you use the Tombstone as oh, he kicks out at too. But I love the Tombstone. I thought that was pretty badass. You've seen the Undertaker win with it so many times. At number 4, I have the Tombstone. Number 3, I got Randy Orton's RKO. Randy Orton, out of nowhere, you cannot predict where this guy's coming from. You've seen the highlights of Seth Rollins trying to hit that stomp, and then throwing him up in the air, hitting him with that RKO, and then Evan Bourne hitting that shooting star press. Randy Orton gets up and hits him with that RKO. There's just something different about Randy Orton. Randy Orton, out of nowhere RKO, And it's just such an amazing, devastating move that I feel like it should be on the top 3. So at number 3, I got Randy Orton's RKO. At number 2, I got Stone Cold Steve Austin's Stone Cold Stunner. Obviously Kevin Owens uses it. It's good. It's good. But nothing defines the Attitude Era more than a Stone Cold Stunner from Vince McMahon. Stunner on McMahon! And then Vince McMahon goes down like this. Or when you hit a Stone Cold Stunner on The Rock, he hits it and then he explodes up into 5 feet in the air. And you're like, oh my God, is The Rock okay? Like, the Stone Cold Stunner has got to be one of the best wrestling moves of all time. And it's so iconic because you have one of the most, recognizable, the most beloved wrestling superstars during the Attitude Era. Obviously Stone Cold Steve Austin dealing with that neck injury ultimately kind of plagued him, crippled him from him participating within the Ruthless Aggression Era. Obviously, I feel like maybe he could, he had at least maybe like 10 more years left in him before he actually retired. But overall, the Stone Cold Stunner, number 2 in my book, and you guys already know what it is. And like I said before, I brainwashed you guys. You guys did not know what came in at number 1. And, it's my opinion. From Eddie Guerrero, I love the Frog Splash from Eddie Guerrero. I thought it was really, really cool. Thought it was pretty badass. I don't feel like anybody else besides Eddie Guerrero hit that Frog Splash and it was meant to be special. Like, I love Jey, love Jimmy. I love, Mercedes Moné. Like, yeah, that's cool and all. You idolize Eddie Guerrero. It was great. But there was nothing like a 5-star Frog Splash from Rob Van Dam. The number 1, I gotta be honest, the best finisher in the world has gotta be Rob Van Dam's 5-star Frog Splash. Like, you seen it with Montez Ford with the, what is it, Above Heavens? I think it was South of Heavens? No, that's Damian Priest. Oh, I don't remember what it's called. But, it's cool, too, when Montez is really doing with the Frog Splash. I think that's pretty badass. From the Heavens. I think it's From the Heavens. And, he hits it, and it's pretty cool because he goes down on him, he covers his abs, too, and it's cool because it depicts on that realism of professional wrestling. But there was nothing like a 5-star Frog Splash from Rob Van Dam. At number 1, the best finisher in wrestling WWE history, it's got to be the 5-star Frog Splash. Tell me what you think. Go ahead and let me know in the comment section how you guys feel, what your favorite wrestling finisher is of all time. We talked about the best, and now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to talk into the worst WWE finishers of all time. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, and join me here in about 25 seconds. So hey, do not go absolutely anywhere. And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on the GSMC Sports Network, the GSMC Podcast Network on YouTube. So make sure you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show so you guys can get some cool notifications when we go live. We talk about all the action inside and outside of the ring, all the backstage curtain calls, all the rumors, all the drama, all the backstage wrestling conspiracy theories that a lot of the fans like to throw up. Guilty as charged. We talk about superstar inactive statuses, injury updates, contract negotiations, extensions, and new signings, also releases. And then we talk about, promotions like WWE, AEW, TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan Professional Wrestling to Stardom, the GCW, basically anything under the sun. If it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling, we talk about it here on this show, 1,010%. So without further ado, we have our fifth and final segment. We're going to talk about the worst WWE finishers of all time. We talked about the best, and now we're going to go ahead and dabble on the worst. And there's been so many bad, finishers. And when I pop this up, it's going to be number one, and I uploaded it wrong, and I'm so sorry. I don't want you to see it. I want you guys to cover your eyes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, shit. Okay, I'm sorry. Excuse me. All right. We're going to start with number 10. Ignore that you guys saw number 1. Number 10, we had The Last Ride. We had The Last Ride from The Undertaker. I got to be honest, this was one of the worst finishers in terms of professional wrestling. So what does it do? Like a power bomb? Like the pop-up power bomb? Like, I get it. You put them all the way up there, and it's supposed to create this, super badass, it's going to rearrange my insides kind of thing landing on the mat. But it's I didn't get into it, and he kind of overall extended it too. He would have him right here, and then he would purposely, lift them up to be like, Last Ride! I didn't like it. I thought it was terrible. I did not like The Last Ride. I got to be honest, guys. From a wrestling standpoint, I thought that was really lazy by The Undertaker. Because you gotta think about it. This guy already had so many finishing moves: the choke slam, tombstone, pile driver. You had him. He also did the triangle choke, and now he has a dude. Really? I think But then again, I feel like this Last Ride was really an homage to his American I am American badass. This was his American badass. I want to forget I was ever the Undertaker. I want to I don't want to I'm not darkness anymore. I forget the choke slam, forget the tombstone pile driver. Let's have The Last Ride, and then that was kind of his, and then it kind of stuck with him to the end. But at number 10, I got The Last Ride. At number 9, one of the worst finishers, in my opinion, has got to be Scotty 2 Hotty's The Worm. I get why people like it, the W-O-R-M, and then he'd do the worm, and then he would just chop him in the neck and be this grand finale, and it was it's supposed to be so cool, but I thought it was stupid. I did not like it. I gotta be honest. But like I said, all this, in terms of talking sports, in terms of talking list, ESPN, Fox Sports, Barstool, you guys name it. It's all opinionated in terms of, your own list. So at number 9, I got The Worm. One of the worst. I thought it, pretty terrible. Number 8, I did not like the ankle slam. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was like a glorified backdrop. Kurt Angle, obviously, then he switched to the ankle lock, which overall kind of fit, what Kurt Angle was about. But the ankle slam, I thought it was pretty stupid. You grab him right here, you do the whole spin and all that. It's just like a glorified backdrop, and we're all supposed to be like, ooh, ooh. It was just a backdrop. Just a backdrop, bro. That's all. And number 7, I got Bayley to Bayley. I like Bayley. She's cool and all. Definitely missed her running around with all the inflatables and the Bayley, Just kidding. No, the Bayley buddies. But then she destroyed them because she turned heel and such a jerk. And she made that little girl cry. That's why she's on this list. That's why. I'm just kidding. Karma. I'm just kidding. No, moving on. But the Bayley to Bayley, a belly to belly suplex, I get it. And it's cool. And it's not really that common in terms of women wrestling. But I didn't really like it. Every single time she hits the Bayley to Bayley, I'm like, God, really? You have Oblivion, with Liv Morgan, which is actually pretty badass. Sol Ruka's Soul Snatcher is pretty awesome it's pretty awesome as hell. And then you have so many other women's finishers that are pretty badass. But again, at number 7, one of the worst finishers in WWE has got to be Bayley to Bayley. It's got to be Bayley to Bayley. Number 6, I got Dirty Deeds. Dirty Deeds by Dean Ambrose or Jon Moxley. Just a glorified DDT. Don't really get the hype of it. Not really, You know, it kind of reminds you of Cactus Jack. Cactus Jack kind of had that same thing, the double-armed, the underhook, DDT, which is pretty cool. I have a comment from, Entertaining Runner saying FSGA. So I'm guessing the Oklahoma City Thunder won Game 1 against the Denver Nuggets, which, not wrestling, but at the same time, I do dabble in some NBA as well. SGA, he's a gifted player. I was the same way with Kobe Bryant for the longest time. I was like, man, this guy sucks. I hate him. This guy's a terrible person because I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan. Every single time we would run into them in the Western Conference semifinals, they would always they would always win, and I'd be like, oh my God. And that's stupid. Back in 2004, Derek Fisher, 0.4, and then you would see all you see the shirts of the Lakers with all the 0.4 on the back, and you'd be like, dude, you're so annoying. Like, are you kidding me? Like, oh God. But yeah, Aaron Gordon balling. I like Aaron Gordon. I feel like Aaron Gordon is a huge piece of what Denver is trying to do. I feel like overall, but Jokic needs a guy like Jamal Murray needs to step it up. He does 1,010%. Porter, I do like Porter as well. The bench of what Denver has really kind of concerns me. Once when you have the starters kind of come off the floor, the bench, yeah, they do. Ultimately, they do kind of cover it, but I feel like maybe their defense could be a little bit more. They could commit a little bit more. But yeah. All right, moving back to professional wrestling. Number 6, I got Dirty Deeds, and number 5, I have Big Show's Punch. I don't like the punch. This is what set off with him and Floyd, Money Mayweather, WrestleMania fight, and it was cool and all, but at the same time, I thought it was really, really stupid. I thought it was terrible. I hate the Big Shows, and I'm a huge fan of strike finishers, like I am. Like the bro kick, the clothesline from hell. Also, Drew McIntyre's damn. Oh my God, the Claymore, 1,010%. But yeah, oh my God, we're getting a lot of NBA talk here. That's awesome. All right, so we got the Nuggets went crazy. Mr. Nugget went crazy. Who the hell's Mr. Nugget? I don't know why I'm thinking Ronald McDonald wearing Chicken McNugget suit. But Nigel Kasura says Mr. Nugget went crazy. So at number 5, I have Big Show's Punch. At number 4, I have Santino Marella's Cobra Strike. I thought, obviously it is what it is. The, bam, bah, at number 4, I have, number 3, I got Great Khali, the chop to the head. I thought that was pretty damn stupid. Number 4, the People's Elbow. Gotta love The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but the People's Elbow was kind of, was pretty lame. You think about it from a perspective, and it was, pretty terrible. And at number 1, I got the Atomic Leg Drop from Hulk Hogan. Absolute not banger. It was terrible. You call it obviously, back in the 80s, I get it. Different move style and stuff like that. But, with the Hulk Hogan Atomic Leg Drop, it just wasn't really all that in a bag of chips. So, yeah, kind of crazy. All right, guys, so thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. I have a bunch of NBA comments, usually this is a wrestling podcast, but, talk about NBA a little bit as well, so, definitely hope you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the GSMC Sports Network. Follow us on Twitter /X, whatever you guys like to call it, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook for more content and updates. And if you guys want to find out all the insights, all the factors in terms of the NBA playoffs, make sure you join Marab in the GSMC Basketball Podcast. Make sure you tune into the Deathlock Professional Wrestling Podcast. See, I got wrestling in my head. The Dead Boss Sports Podcast with my boy Nolan. We also have my boy Matt Quinn talking about some football with the GSMC Football Podcast. We also we have College Football Podcast with my man Jake. Make sure you guys tune into all those amazing podcasts. We got Down by Contact Sports Podcast with my man Jeremy Lapidus, an absolute badass, a guy that you definitely want to watch. He's so entertaining as hell. He knows his stuff. If if you want to walk into any sports party, or if you want to make sure that you got the lowdown on all the amazing, all the headlines in terms of sports, make sure you guys tune into his podcast 1010%. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. Hope you guys had a great time once again. Have an amazing, safe, lovely weekend. I know it is only a grueling Monday. Hope you guys enjoy the week. Stay beautiful, but most importantly, I love you.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn ain't that